Rabbi Dov Linzer here from Yeshivat Chovevei Torah. I'd like to share with all of you a thought on this week's Parsha, which is Tazria-Metzorah, and deals primarily with a man or woman who has tzara'at, normally translated as leprosy. Of course, not really leprosy, but in many ways, the way this person is treated is similar to how one would treat someone with a communicable disease, and has really uncanny parallels to our situation that we're going through right now. Just the way that there's so much washing that's involved in the purification process. Of course, for us, all the hand washing is to prevent becoming sick. There really are a lot of parallels. And for me, what really stands out most, both in the Parsha and in how we are dealing right now with the issues around COVID-19, is moving beyond concern for oneself and going to concern for others and concern for the community. So, for example, the Metzorah is told to Val Safam Yatet, to wear some covering over his mustache or his mouth, which on the one hand might be a sign of a mourning type of a sign, but the Ibn Ezra says is so he shouldn't breathe on other people and he shouldn't make them sick. Perhaps the most powerful expression of that is the end of the verse where it says, Tamei Tamei Yikra. He has to declare that he is impure. So it could be read as a way of sort of self-castigating, making himself, a pariah, but that would be very harsh to understand. And what it more seems is that he's telling other people to keep away from him, because by contact with him, he could transfer his impurity to them. He could transfer his disease to them. And here's somebody that is clearly being pushed to the margins. The Metzorah is pushed outside of society to protect everybody. We're sort of pulling ourselves into our homes to protect ourselves. And at the same time is worried not for himself, but is worried for others. And this has really stuck out for me during this time of this crisis that we're in the middle of. As I said, we all are staying home, partly to protect ourselves. Maybe that was our first thought, but in a large way also to protect others. We wear masks. If you don't have the special mask, why are you wearing masks? You're wearing masks not so that you shouldn't become sick. It won't work for that, but you're wearing masks for others. And that only works if everybody is doing it. I wear a mask for you, you wear a mask for me. If everybody is doing this selfless act, and we're doing it as a society and as a community, then we're keeping everybody safe. Another great example of this is, the porch minyanim, where people would go on their different porches and be able to make a minyan, and that would seem fine. But some great rabbanim of Lakewood came out and said we shouldn't be doing it. Why? Because, first of all, people that don't have the ability, they don't have the porches, they don't have the numbers, they're not close to people, it makes them feel, a real sense of being excluded, in a sense of not being able. Maybe it tempts them to do it in a way that would not be acceptable. And that really we have to sometimes give up things that are even important religious things, not just for our own safety, but for the benefit of the larger community. And I'll end with a thought about the famous story, that they say that the difference between Gehenna and Gan Eden is Gehenna, everybody is in front of a large feast, but their arms are locked in place. They can't bend their elbows, so they starve to death because they can't eat. Gan Eden actually is the exact same thing, that everybody's in front of this large feast, and their elbows are locked in place, they can't bend their arms. But what are they doing? Each person is sharing with the person next to him or her. And by that way, they're all eating. And I really think that the message from this week's Parsha, and the message that we've all been demonstrating and how we're living up to the challenges of the coronavirus, is moving from that initial response that we had about self-protection, and still keeping that, of course, primary, but realizing that by caring about the others, by caring about the broader community, by willing to make certain self-sacrifices, we're all going to get better, we're all going to get stronger. Shabbat Shalom.